Hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. So today we're going to be looking at the possibility of System 3 games on the Evercade. Now, it might not happen because realistically we don't have any Commodore 64 games or Amiga games yet on the Evercade, but it may happen in the future, and if it does, this is one of the collections I would love to see. So let's have a look at some of the games that might be a possibility if System 3 was on the Evercade. So guys, predominantly System 3 did initially make games for the C64, but they did make a lot of computer versions for the Spectrum, the Amstrad, the Atari ST and Amiga, and occasionally they sort of ventured into making games for the NES as well. Alongside they did make some other games later in their career for SNES and various other systems, but back in the day it was generally C64 and then conversions onto the other sort of platforms. So The Last Ninja is really renowned as being one of these classic games, especially from the C64 era. And obviously they had the Last Ninja 2, Last Ninja 3, and they've later released a Ninja Remix which had the full package in it. But they are really tricky games to play. I think back in the day generally you would be playing these games on a joystick, and they had to utilise the joystick and one button into various amount of moves, such as picking up items, punching and kicking by pushing up and down on the joystick and pressing the buttons and stuff. So it was quite complicated. So there'd probably be a lot of work trying to get this map to maybe 4 buttons and a D-pad, for example. So not sure how that would work. So this is obviously the original Last Ninja on the C64. So takes a little bit of getting used to some of the sort of jumping mechanics. So you've got jump. You need to generally use the same jump button to push down to kick and up to punch. And there's also other ones like picking up items by pressing down diagonally, I believe. So it's quite tricky because there's items you need to pick up. Like there's one here. I don't know what that is. It was obviously flashing a second ago. And sometimes, as much as I love these games, sometimes the try to pick up things was very, very tricky. There you go. So we've got a sword, and we can now utilise that. Hopefully, yeah. So now that it certainly helps for combat purposes. Here we've got the sort of dreaded jumping stone section, which you'll probably die quite a lot. And this is probably one of the most frustrating parts of the game. As great as these games were at the time, trying to utilise getting through this was unbelievably difficult. I'm sure a lot of people get frustrated with that section quite a lot. It's generally just about trying to button bash. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, especially in the later games, the enemies sort of do replenish their health and they're there when you go back. Oh, but it's still a fun game. I still enjoy playing it, but yeah, the mechanics of the game do make it a little bit tricky to play. I love one thing about the C64 versions. The music is fantastic. Obviously there was other versions of this one, like Amiga and whatnot, but this was sort of the original versions from the Commodore 64. Now let's have a look at Last Ninja 2. So Last Ninja 2, it's more or less the same, except it's graphically maybe just slightly more information and detail. It's still quite a tough game to play. As you can see, you can get stuck quite easily. I think I'd really just have to... Oh, I'm not making any difference in this guy. Oh, there you go. So generally I find kicking is probably best, which is basically holding the button down and pushing down on the joypad or the joystick, whatever you're using. But you need to be careful, they replenish their health. In this part you need to press the button which activates the trapdoor to get started. You can actually turn the music off, but it is a great sort of track. Very C64 like. You can see the key hiding down here, but you obviously need to stand in the right location to sort of grab it. There we go, we've got a key. And I believe that's probably to open this gate over here that you see. Oh, and you need to be standing in the right place. There you go. But again, just like the original, there's really tricky jumping, and I think so you need to jump in the boat to get over here, but obviously I've missed it. I need to go back and let it load in again. You need to get the timing right. It's just like those stepping stones, it's a nightmare. And yeah, I've messed it up. But I really enjoyed these games. I mean, I didn't think I ever got that far in the games, but I still enjoyed playing them. Very tricky games to play, right enough. So we'll get watches here. I mean, I'd say the Amiga versions are probably obviously graphically superior, but I still enjoyed these versions. I thought this version was terrific. So The Last Ninja was actually, The Last Ninja 2 was actually released on the NES, but interestingly it was actually changed to just The Last Ninja, even though it was the second game. Not really sure why they done that, but it's interesting to know there is actually a NES version of this out there, which might make things a bit easier to get some of the games on the Evercade, I guess. You can see the sort of one thing you definitely notice different here is the sound is pretty different. I think the character movement is definitely more fluid, and you see the graphics are probably slightly more colourful than the Commodore 64 version. The game still plays practically the same. See, the character doesn't really seem to lift his leg quite as much though. Obviously there've been sort of extra buttons on the NES. It's probably easier. You can map the sort of punch button to the button, then you've got the other button's kick. So I guess that's definitely better if you're wanting a sort of an Evercade version with the buttons have been mapped better to suit the controller. Still has that sort of diagonal downwards to collect items. It's a little bit more tricky to leave a room. I'm still finding it quite tricky. I think playing the Commodore 64 version, I'm finding it tricky to utilise both buttons. Right, let's see if we can get this to work. Yeah, got it. Oh my god, the boat looks smaller, doesn't it, than the Commodore 64 version? I wonder if that's deliberate. There's no way I'm landing on that. Wow. I think this is... It looks nice, I guess. It looks a little bit nicer, but it seems harder in some aspects of it. It definitely looks nice enough. Quite cool to know that there was a version of this made. There wasn't sort of very many System 3 console games made, but it's quite cool to know that there was a NES version. It was replenishing really quickly. I'm sure there was a pickup in some of the toilets. I can't remember which one it was. Oh, maybe this one. Oh yeah, got it. I've got the nunchucks now. Oh. Anyway, let's move on to the next game, guys. So, Last Ninja 3, you can see the graphics are upped and there's even more details in the graphics. Now, what I remember about Last Ninja 3, it came on a really That was done. It took forever to actually load on the C64. And I think it came on a ridiculously long tape, and quite a lot of times it crashed on me. I think the best version we get will be your disc versions. Whoa, I'm getting stuck here. Whoa. But yeah, I think it actually came in cartridge as well, C64 cartridge, but I never actually ever seen it in the shops. So it was one of the ones that was difficult to actually get a hold of. The combat's a bit of a pain until you actually get some weapons. Oh, so you die quite frequently. So definitely find this one. I mean, I know the games are quite difficult, but this one I really made so little progress on. See that the enemy's about to replenish its health. And again, it's got fantastic music in it. I'm not really sure if you'd say the graphics are better in this version or there's just more detail. It just maybe makes it a little bit more messy. But in a little moment, we'll have a look at the actual Amiga versions. I mean, I'm really not sure if we'll ever see Amiga on the Evercade. I'm not really sure if we'll ever see C64 on the Evercade. I mean, we can hope. Like, they haven't said no, so it's all about, can they make a deal? Can they get C64 on working on the Evercade? I don't see why not. And same with Amiga, we should be able to get them working. It's all about getting those licenses. But yeah, these are classic games. Difficult though, very difficult games to play. But for the systems that they were on, these were like amazing, groundbreaking games. They were absolutely fantastic. This combat is crazy. I say there's obviously an awful lot of wandering about. This is where I sort of mentioned it's good to maybe make a map, even mentally in your head, or draw one down. But yeah, fantastic. Let's have a look at the actual Amiga version of this game. Because this was the intro. It was on the C64 version. But it took forever to load in, and you could be waiting 10 minutes for the actual, just the loading this introduction screen to actually play. It's really cool. I mean, for the time it was great. I mean, System 3 are still on the go today, so you would think it's possibility that, you know, we could see these games on the Evercade. I hope we do. I really hope we do. I think there was actually further Last Ninja games actually planned, like Last Ninja 4. I can't remember what platform it was on, but I think they got canned for they just weren't happy with what they were doing with them. Which is a shame. So you can see this is obviously the Amiga version. It plays the same, and you see there's a lot more sort of detail in the graphics. I think it's probably not quite as difficult. I mean, I suppose I say it's not difficult, it's still very difficult. I think ideally, yeah, if you could get some versions, I would like to maybe see a mixture of maybe the Amiga and C64. You can actually appreciate that the C64 version is actually pretty decent. It's certainly something that surprised a lot of people. There's a lot of C64 games that actually stand up really well. I don't think the combat is quite as hard on the Amiga version. I feel it's easier to kill the enemies with your fist, whereas the C64 it's a lot of bashing. Oh, I jumped over him. There's obviously a lot of wandering about. Oh, I've just went in a circle. Try to find sort of items to help you progress through the game. Oh! Wow. Okay guys, let's move on to the next games. And other games that are very recognisable and classics from System 3, which is International Karate. So this is International Karate on the C64. Obviously the actual sequel's the one that's more recognisable. Obviously there's two opponents to take on. But in this version, it's still really good. It's pretty much the same mechanics. It's just got a slightly different background in, I guess it's the Sydney Harbour. But it's a fantastic little game. And this is definitely one of my favourite Commodore 64 games of all time. That and the sequel, absolutely fantastic games. I think we already have The Way of the Exploding Fist on the Evercade, which is kind of a similar game. Woohoo! I do love working out those moves when they work. So IK Plus on the Commodore 64. Oh, absolutely loved this game. There was quite a lot of different versions made. So the Amiga version, Spectrum, Amstrad, Atari ST, etc. But apparently it was also known as Chop and Drop in the US. Not sure why they sort of changed the name, but interesting. There is also a Game Boy Advance version of this. And apparently there was a PlayStation versions, all sorts of things. There was probably various versions of this, but for me this is definitely stands as one of my all-time favourites games, especially on the Commodore. So I absolutely love this game. I played this quite a lot back in the day, and I love this little scene. I like to look for all the Easter eggs in the background as well, like the birds plasting worms and spiders crawling in the background. Yeah, I always just love this game. Absolutely terrific. I mean, I know the graphics are probably a little bit sort of more basic compared to some of the other versions, but I still absolutely love this version. Again, this is obviously slightly different to the first game, as in that there's two opponents to take on. So the controls are still quite tricky, and it does take a little bit of getting used to. But I still absolutely love it. I'm never doing that in real life, that's for sure. But wow, I can't get enough of this little game. I would absolutely love if we could see this on the Evercade. In some version, I mean, if we had the Game Boy Advance version, which I'll show next, that would be fantastic. So the Game Boy Advance version, it kind of reminds me it was probably based on the Amiga versions. You can see it's got a sort of new cover screen here. Which is absolutely fantastic. I think obviously it was worked on by Archer McLean. So let's have a look. I see the sort of characters are sort of larger, and it does move a lot quicker too. But in general it's pretty much the same game, it's just a lot more detail and colour. And it definitely copies the graphics of the Amiga version. I'm out already. You can change the speed in this. You got this normal, you can change it if it's too fast for you. Probably is a bit too fast for me there. Practice is definitely recommended. Let's start again. That was short and sweet. Oh my. I'm getting owned here. Yay! Wow. Wow, it's much tougher, I think. Maybe it's just the speed that makes it hard. At least I stay in this time. Has fantastic music too, which is great. Wow. I logged into that one. I don't think I meant any of that, honest. But yeah, fantastic game, guys. And the fact there's a Game Boy Advance version sort of might make things a little bit easier for Evercade purposes. So this is Myth, which I guess it was really quite tricky. I mean, another game that probably took forever to load on the Commodore 64. Yeah, it has this sort of jumping. I think definitely this is probably where one of the instances where the Amiga version was definitely superior to this. It wasn't the easiest games to get to grip of. So it had a lot of jumping elements and sort of random Sort of monsters and skeletons appearing all over the place. The same sort of mechanics where you need to press down on the button mechanically. Ah! Like, generally this is all I ever got to, and died instantly. Tricky game, very tricky. You can't fall all the way down or you will die instantly. I guess as you can see, you get all the way down here, it really becomes tricky. See, I don't think this is the most amazing version in the world. And you die frequently. I think, yeah, the Amiga. Let's have a look at the Amiga version. So this is Myth on the Amiga CD32 version. I like how it's got certainly a fancier sort of opening screen. Pretty ominous. The sort of controls are still generally the same. You see, obviously, graphically it's far superior. But the only thing I didn't really like of the game is the constant enemies just keep coming. Can't really do anything about it. They just keep coming. And the mechanics are still the same. The jumping, it's all quite slow. But there's obviously a lot more detail in the version. It's still very, very difficult. I think ideally when you get to this point you really need the sort of lightning bolt to sort of take out that enemy. I just can't remember how to pick them up. You don't really get very long to actually pick up. Oh, got it this time. Oh yeah, just try to figure out how to actually utilise the lightning bolt thing. Certainly makes a heck of a lot of difference. This is... oh, I've used it all up now that I'm too late. Quite a hard game, right enough. I'm not really sure I like this one as much as some of the other System 3 games. But that's still a large part of System 3, I guess. So fascinating, again, System 3 also released a version called Conan on the NES. I don't know why they renamed it, but it's more or less the same sort of game. You see that everything's a lot more simplified. But it's still a tricky game. Graphically, it's definitely a lot more simpler. I'd say this is probably even quite inferior to the Commodore version. Still a tough game, for sure. You need those lightning bolts to get past that thing. Let's see if I can... I don't like the way the enemies just keep constantly appearing. Anyway, I'm not really sure this is a particularly amazing game at all. But it will have its fans. So this is Bangkok Nights, which is a boxing game. I think it was only released on the C64. But again, it's another sort of game by System 3. Kind of a boxing game. It looks more like a kickboxing game, obviously. Pretty tricky though. Not. Oh, I'm struggling, I think. Oh, I'm down. A lot of button bashing. But it's quite cool, I guess. It's quite good fun. I guess limited in appeal though. pretty hard as well. Okay, this is Vendetta, which was released, I think it was only released C64, Spectrum and Amstrad maybe back in the day. Oh, you can see it's probably one of the sort of earlier titles, and the graphics are a little bit sort of blocky. So I've sort of acquired myself a knife here. And it uses a lot of the same mechanics as the Last Ninja series, etc. So you've got the button to sort of switch between your weapons and stuff, collectibles, but it's a tricky game to actually play. You see, it uses a lot of the same sort of graphic engine as well as the Last Ninja series. This guy's got some sort of weapon. Oh, I'm dead. Very tough game to play. Yeah, not really sure we'll see any of these titles, but I mean, if we get System 3, then this is obviously one of the games you would maybe expect to see. Not sure how well it would translate onto the Evercade though. So next game, guys, is Turbocharge, which was only actually released on the C64 by System 3, and it was a really good game. It was well reviewed at the time. It's one of these games that it's sort of driving. You need to push forward to drive and control the car and shoot at the same time and take out some of the enemies, which is kind of cool. But it was, I don't recall any other versions of this being released or similar games. I can maybe think of maybe like Chase HQ or something, maybe inspired. But it's a great little game. I think this would definitely work well on the Evercade. The fact it's not really been seen very often outside Commodore 64 is something else that would be quite cool. It's one of these sort of hidden gems that deserves to be played by more people. I think it came towards sort of latter end of the original run of the Commodore 64. It was certainly sort of in the 90s this game was released. And it's really decent, it's very good fun to play. Oh, you've got outrun style forks in the road to choose from too. Quite addictive, pretty tricky right enough. But yeah, I absolutely love this game. I would love to see more of this. Wow. So this is Fuzzball. Now, interestingly enough, this is the C64 version, which never actually made it. But I'm pretty sure that it was released as a demo. This is obviously the demo version I'm playing. But I'm pretty sure it was released as a demo version on one of the sort of Commodore 64 magazines at the time. Which is why I definitely remember playing the game. Because it was really good. There was an Amiga version released as well, and also it was perhaps remade later on as Super Putty, or Putty Squad, sorry, on the SNES, and there's other versions too, but we'll have a look at all of those versions. It'd be really cool to see this, because the fact that it was one of those games that was never quite released, even though, you know, it was worked on. It's really only got this in demo form. I'm pretty sure the game was completed, but again, it was just never released on the Commodore 64. It was a really cool little game. Not exactly sure what the purpose is to actually do. I guess it's to just clear all the enemies off the screen. And I don't think I can defeat those ones. quite addictive. I mean, I did definitely enjoy playing this at the time. It was really addictive. But let's have a look at the Amiga version. So, Fuzzball on the Amiga. Let's see, it's just a little bit more detailing graphically. Is a little bit better. There's quite a lot going on. It's quite difficult to actually see. Oh, you can't actually see those grey ones. So I'm not sure what the actual purpose is. Like, defeat the green ones, collect all the stuff, and avoid the grey ones, maybe? I guess this type of game would be fantastic on your handhelds. And they're not massively renowned games, so they'd be like, could be regarded as sort of hidden gems. Yeah, pretty cool game. So, on the Super Nintendo or SNES, there was a version of Fuzzball which was remade as the Putty Squad. I wonder if this could be a possibility on the Evercade, the fact that it's a SNES version. Okay, let's quickly fast forward to the actual game. You can see it's obviously not the same game, but it's quite inspired by the same sort of idea. And I think it's one of those games you would definitely love to see on the Evercade. It's not a massively renowned game, but still quite cool nonetheless. I do like myself a platforming game. It looks nice, doesn't it? Kind of funny. I'm just working out some of the extra controls. Ah. Ah, that's cool. Oh yeah, this would be fantastic on the Evercade. I mean, the fact that Blaze have obviously been speaking to a lot of like, British developers from the day, like Bitmap Brothers. It would be amazing if we could see, you know, them maybe talking to System 3. Let's see what we can get going here. Because there's a lot of really cool games here. I think this would make an absolutely fantastic cart. I guess there may be a lot of folks, especially maybe outside the UK, that may not have played a lot of these games before. But yeah, fantastic, really enjoy that. So this is Flimbo's Quest, which was released on the C64, and I'm pretty sure there was a cartridge version of this as well, but I had it on tape. There are also various other versions of it. We'll also maybe look at the Amiga version after we play this. Okay, quite someone's a sort of jumping and shooting game, but I think the object was trying to collect items, I think. We've got a flashing, I need to find the flashing dragon, is that right? The flashing red dragon? Oh, there we are. And I think you had to take that to the shop, I think, and then you get another mission, is that where it's right? I think that's what it was. But I really quite liked this game back in the day. It was fun and it was addictive. I think this is the shop, yeah. So we're basically, I think you're collecting letters. Now we've got another. I need to find the flashing, whatever that is. Turtle, tortoise, snail, sorry. Great little game, very addictive, and you see it's for Commodore 64, very colourful, very bright. Quite simple to play, quite easy to die I guess there as well. See, this sort of thing would be perfect for Evercade purposes. Oh, we've got another letter. So then you collect all the letters as they sort of move on to the next stage. Fantastic little game. Another letter. I can't really remember what they actually spell. Anyway guys, let's have a look. Well, this is the bonus sort of stage where you collect loads of coins to spend on upgrades in the shop. Quite cool. Smashing little game. Okay, let's have a look at the Amiga version. So this is the Amiga version. Oh, I died already. I have to be honest, I know it sort of looks better, but I'm not really sure it's a better game than this Commodore 64 version. There's obviously a lot more going on with the graphics, but I don't necessarily think it makes it a better game. But actually might make an interesting video at some point to sort of compare Commodore versions and Amiga versions and see, is it better game? So obviously slightly off topic the video, but I was actually playing one of my favourite games, Creatures, on the Commodore 64 recently, and I only discovered that there was an Amiga version, but I didn't think it was very good. It kind of fascinated me, but yeah, I may do a video of that at some point. I definitely think this version isn't as good as the Commodore version. It's definitely not as fun to play. It's quite harder. Anyway. Guys, thanks for watching the video today. Hard to say if we'll ever get a System 3 cart. The fact that they're one of the sort of UK or British game makers, and they are still quite active, so hopefully Blaze and Evercade can get together and we can maybe see some of these games. And the fact that we don't have any computer versions on Evercade might be an issue, but we're hopeful that they can work out some kind of deal, get those licenses, and maybe we'll start to see Commodore 64, Spectrum, Amstrad, Atari ST, Amiga versions on the Evercade. I'm pretty sure this will probably happen sometime through 2022, but we'll just have to wait and see. Fingers crossed, and thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you again next time. Bye for now, guys.